Howdy, folks. Thank you, Amy. Thanks, Marissa, for having me on. I'm going to tell a little bit of a story because, working with these issues of surveillance, it's a relatively new thing for me, maybe 5 years or so, but something happened at this airport over here that kind of got me moving on to this whole thing. It was back in June 19th of 2002. I was flying back from a show in Africa, and oh, sorry. I'm just going to pull this over a little bit. Okay. Anyway, it was on June 19th of 2002. I was coming back from a show in Africa, and the second to last flight was, or the flight entering the United States, I should say, was coming from Amsterdam into Detroit. And, I mean, as a working artist, you're kind of working wherever there's work, so you're kind of all over. And I hand my passport to the INS guy, which was back then, INS and Customs were separate entities. The guy swipes the passport through and literally just turned completely white. I mean, just, and didn't even look up at me. It's like, is there something wrong? And he took a few moments to recompose himself. Says, follow me, please. And I end up being walked through a rat maze at the Detroit airport in an INS detention facility, which is actually kind of unusual given that as an American citizen, you usually don't get taken in by INS. It was a room about half the size of this place, and you can just see all the faces of there. I mean, people from every far-fetched corner of the earth, you can just see the pure fear in everyone's. And, I'm sitting there trying to start up a conversation with the guards going, you guys have any idea what I'm doing here? And they're just as confused as me. And literally, just like the movies, a guy in a dark suit walks straight up to me and says, I expect you to be older. It's like, gee, what an unusual greeting. You mind explaining what's going on here? And his words were something to the extent of, you got some explaining to do yourself, boy. So we go into a little room, stark white, so white it hurts your eyes, camera in the corner, him, desk, computer. And then he sits down and says, where were you? Well, I was coming back from Amsterdam. Where were you before that? I had a change of planes in Lisbon. Where were you before that? I just hung out on the beach in Portugal. Where were you before that? To see an exhibition in Germany. Of course, he wants to hear the Axis of Evil or Libya or, something like that. And of course, he's just getting angrier and angrier. And I'm telling him all these friendly Western European nations. And then we finally get to, where were you before that? I said, I was in Dakar in Senegal. And he looks at me and goes, where's that? Not like he's really testing me, but, and at this time I still have no idea what's going on, but I know that I'm in some mode of suspect here, and this is some mode of government official. And of course, I go in my academic mode, draw him a little map of Africa on the table, point to the western tip, explain to him the significance of Dakar being a major shipment point for the slave trade and how, there's a big exhibition there every other year now, and artists are invited. He goes, what kind of art you make? I have a hard enough time explaining this to other artists, much less government officials, so I just said, I make sculpture, and just left it at that. And then, well, who pays for your trips? Well, sometimes the institution that's inviting me, sometimes, my university, sometimes just frequent flyer miles. Who do you meet there? Why are you there? Where do you sleep? All sorts of details. And then literally out of nowhere, he asks me, where were you September 12th? Hell if I remember, but I said, you know what, I can look it up for you. So I pull out my PDA and I said, okay, let's look up the 12th. Okay, 10:30, meeting with Judith. 11 o'clock, I went and paid my rent at the storage unit. 12 to 3, I had this class. 3 to 6, I had this class. All right, where were you the 11th? Read in the appointments for the 11th. Where were you the 9th? Where were you the 15th, 14th? You get the idea. We went through every little detail over there. And then he asks me, well, you had the storage unit near the university. This is when I was teaching at the University of South Florida in Tampa. And he says, what did you have in the storage unit? I was like, winter clothes that I got no use for in Florida, furniture that I can't fit in my tiny apartment, garage sale material, just junk. Looks very confused and says, no explosives. I was like, no, I'm pretty certain I had no explosives. Well, later on, he went to later that conversation, he went to clarify that, well, the authorities had received a report that on September 12th, an Arab man had fled with explosives, and that person would be me. You know, never mind I'm not Arab, never mind I didn't leave on September 12th, never mind I didn't even have explosives. But, you know, in this orange alert mentality that our country still is in today, it all makes sense. You know, if you got a funny name, you look a little different, then you must be Arab. And if you're Arab, then you must have explosives. I mean, come on, everybody knows that. I mean, that's just logic these days. Anyway, so I guess he trusted me enough to basically let me go home. And he said, okay, well, I have enough information here. I'm going to pass this on to the Tampa office. They're going to follow up with you, and they'll clear this up. So anyway, I make a phone rings in my office a little bit later, and basically, man introduced himself, said this is a follow-up to your interview in Detroit. Interesting choice of vocabulary, by the way. The FBI loves their words. It's far from interview. Anyway, I said, hey, can we meet on this date? Like, okay, sure. Well, actually, no, they were very accommodating to me. They were like, you know, we can meet at a public place. We can meet at wherever you want. And I said, you know what? I got nothing to hide. I'll just show up at your office. And I get there, and as I'm turning the corner on Zach Street, which is where the federal building in downtown Tampa is, the guy's like, please wait, from this really awkward, like 10, 15, 20 feet away. And I'm sitting by the edge of the curb, and the only thing that's going through my head is some van's going to pull up, and I'm going to get abducted. No one's ever going to hear from me.